finding me so adorable.
This is his first community board meeting.
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So cute.
Thank you for bringing him, Michael.
Of course.
Which
Love
community
it.
board do you live in, and can Gail or I appoint your child to one of the community boards?
Unfortunately, we're up in the Bronx in CB11, so different borough.
Oh, your baby's so cute. How old?
He just turned 8 months this past weekend.
Wow. Does he do any tricks yet?
He's learning some tricks at daycare. He just started daycare last week.
Really?
He was
How
doing
great.
finger painting already.
Wow.
Awesome.
Oh,
Okay, let's get
Molly,
rolling.
you're all
Let's-
set.
Let's get started, you guys. So we have a big agenda. I feel like a broken record. I say that every time, but we do have a lot to cover tonight since we were on break for the summer. So let's see. We're recording. We're ready to go. So welcome everyone. Molly Hollister, Manhattan Community Board 6th Chair. It is September 9th, 2020, and we are starting the meeting at 7:02. And we are joined tonight by Seema Shah, our secretary, and the district manager, Jesus Perez, assistant district manager, Cody Osterman, and community associate, Brendan Burth, who are an amazing team. And before I start the meeting and set the ground rules and do the, start the elected speaking, I did want to just say that, welcome back everyone. I know for us, I hope some people were able to take a nice, break this summer and kind of just take a moment for yourselves. I know it's been a tough year. I just want to say how grateful I am for the office staff. I mean, we just have an amazing team, and they've been tireless and they've been on top of everything this whole summer, and the board members as well. Again, we were on break for 2 months. We did have some meetings, but you guys are amazing. And I just want to say how grateful I am. You're just, hardworking, thoughtful, and just really on top of everything. And as well as our elected officials and the city agencies, we have a great group on the east side of Manhattan. So our neighbors and our community leaders as well. And I hope some of those folks are on the call tonight. But I did want to just do a shout out to the people that might be on the call that haven't been to a community board meeting before. So, sign up for the newsletter, go, check out our website on a monthly basis. It changes and you can be updated on the committee events, the committee meetings. And, we need more people to be involved and more people to volunteer. We need to work together, and volunteer, participate. We just need to try to be a team on the east side. I think we're doing a great job. And again, we have so many amazing elected officials, really incredible, hardworking people with great ideas. And I think a lot of us are on the, just working to make a better east side. But, we wanted this place to come alive again and to thrive. So I just want to put that out there before we start rolling. And hopefully we can just continue to keep working together to make this a better east side. So with that said, I feel like the ground rules, people kind of understand at this point, a Zoom call. So no one can speak, and hopefully you just stay on mute if you can at all times until you want to speak. For the board members, you're allowed to unmute yourselves, but keep yourself muted if possible. So then we just don't have that background noise. And we'll move through the committee business, but we have the chat function. You all know not to use that unless, it's just a kind of a parliament, it's just a question. It's not the business of the board. So it might just be a technical question for the staff, the office team. And and I'll identify you to speak. Again, you all, I think we've gone through this enough that we know this part. But the public is speaking, and we've sent out notices, but we have some public folks asking to speak tonight. So I think they've mostly registered. I'm not sure. I'll keep an eye on my feed here to see who's signed up, and we'll go ahead and do that. But please sign up via the Q&A feature on Zoom to speak, and we want your name, affiliation, and what topic you're going to speak about. So, if you want to speak, then we'll do that up until 7:15, and then we'll close that, and we'll start, inviting people to speak after the next piece here, which is the elected officials. So, with all that said, the next item on the agenda is to adopt tonight's agenda. And I think, do we have that on the screen? I don't have both my screens up. So you've all been sent the agenda. So if I hear no objections, we'll go ahead and adopt the agenda for tonight.
Roll call?
And we'll do roll call after the adoption of the agenda. So, okay, so the agenda has been adopted and we will move into roll call. And that is Seema's. Shaw. Oh, you're on mute.
Hi, everyone. So sorry about that. You think I would get it, month 55 into quarantine, but I guess not. Hello, welcome. I'll call your name. If you could just respond with present, please take yourself off mute and respond with present. I know that. All right. Kyle?
Present.
Thank you. Asia Body?
Present.
Martin Barrett, I think he's not here. LV Barroso?
Present.
Joan Barenbaum?
Present.
Matt Bondi? Okay, not here. Claire Brennan?
Present.
Jim Collins?
Present.
Dan Devine? Dan's not here. Beatrice Desmond?
Present.
Janine D'Onofrio?
Here.
Richard Eggers?
Present.
Charles Fernandez? Charles, are you here? All right.
Present.
Oh, great. Andrew Gross?
Present.
Adam Hartkey?
Here.
Molly Hollister?
Here.
Paige Judge? Paige, are you here? All right. Yusuf Khalid?
Here.
John Keller?
Present.
Kathleen Kelly?
Here.
Abigail Kuzmark?
Present.
Anton Malmner?
Present.
Kavita Matthew?
Here.
Sandra McKee?
Present.
Wells McGauley?
Present.
Richard Mintz?
Present.
Karen Moore? Karen? Okay, Philip Napolitano? Philip Napolitano?
He's there. He's on mute.
Okay, thank you. Rajesh Nair?
Present.
Kevin O'Keefe?
Present.
Reshma Patel?
Present.
Matthew Roberts?
Present.
Jean Santoro?
Here.
Frank Scala? Frank? All right, Lawrence Scher?
Present.
Ann Seligman?
Present.
Lou Sapersky? Lou?
Yo.
All right, hey. I'm here. Sean Sherman?
Here.
Thank you. Sandra Sherrod?
Present.
Great. Letty Simon?
Here.
Thank you. Madeline Sims? Madeline? Susan Steinberg?
Here.
Anju Shurish?
Here.
Mark Thompson?
Here.
Corinne Vanderdonk? I saw Corinne
Present.
before. Brian Van Nieuwenhoven?
Present.
Awesome. Pam Vassal?
I'm here too.
Great. Ronnie White?
Here.
All right, and Claude Winfield.
Present.
Great, thanks everyone.
All right, thanks, Seema. All right, so we'll move into electeds to speak, and I do have a list here. I know you guys all have a lot of meetings tonight, and we have a long agenda. So, if you, can keep it under 5 minutes, three to 5 minutes, I don't know. We're not going to time you, but if everyone can kind of keep it brief, that'd be great. Is Jim trying to ask a question?
Yes, I am. Yes,
Oh.
I am. Adoption of the minutes?
Oh, did I skip adoption of the minutes?
Yes. I think I don't have the agenda in front of me, but I thought that's usually next after.
The adoption of the minutes usually comes in the business session, which is after.
Oh, right. I was
Okay.
like,
All right.
yeah,
I'm sorry. My
no
apologies.
problem. No problem.
All right.
So let's start with Councilmember Ben Kalos. Good evening.
Good evening. If Brendan or somebody can run the clock, I will follow the time limit. So I will be done before 7:17. I'm going to aim for 7:16 or 7:15. I'm Councilmember Ben Kalos. That's at Ben Kalos on social media. We are all home. I can't speak for Michael Stinson's, but I can say that we are losing the fight on the 7 p.m. bedtime. So my 2.5-year-old daughter might jump in with a reason why she can't sleep. So I recommend turning down your volume and taking off headphones if possible. I hope everyone had a good Labor Day, and I want to thank New Yorkers who are working from home and in person during this pandemic, in particular our city workers who have kept our city running. And so I will always fight for you on this month. We fought off the mayor's most recent threats of layoffs, and we continue to fight to restore $20 million cut from nonprofits, offering food, shelter, and services to youth and seniors. If you wish to weigh in favor of our city workers, I'd love it if you'd like to weigh in favor of the nonprofits. I would love that too. As chair of the contracts committee, I've been reviewing contracts that can be cut or went wrong, and I found hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts for our nation's largest corporations for things like white papers. And I think we can cut the recent white paper on cybersecurity that's worth several $1 million. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We also uncovered what was going on with the failure to deliver the air conditioning. Turns out the city had a huge fight with PC Richards. I don't know what happened. I want to get to the bottom of it, but I'm not sure if PC Richards is as reliable as they said they would. In preparation for the school starting in September, we spent most of the summer with our parents, principals, teachers, and most importantly, students, and we fought to get their concerns addressed, and that got pushed out to the 21st. We had a town hall last night with Deputy Education Department of Education Deputy Chancellor Austin, who answered questions on testing, safety plans, remote learning. If you missed it, you can see it at facebook.com/BenKalo/videos. I would just say if you have an education committee and you're interested, I'd recommend you do surveys, look up the surveys. I pulled one school and all they had was windows, and I've been in that school and I think they have one window per classroom that opens. They didn't bother surveying the auditorium. And so if you're interested, I'm happy to partner with you on making sure we have the support we need for the schools. If there have been many concerns about homeless and public safety, we're here to help. We joined the New York State Nurses Association advocating for New York Presbyterian to reopen its inpatient psychiatric services to help our mentally ill off the streets. They serve about 600 folks. The most northern inpatient service currently is at 70th Street in my district. There's nothing for Upper Manhattan. We also have our East Side Task Force for Homeless Outreach and Services. At this point, we're open to, it's focused on CB8, but we're open to helping out in CB6. We work with partners in the faith and nonprofit communities who are doing direct outreach, such as running soup kitchens to directly assist individuals. The most effective way to end our homeless crisis will be to build more affordable housing and supportive housing. We've built multiple buildings in my district, including across the street in my backyard. And the children from the supportive housing are now going to school at the school that my daughter is zoned for. As November creeps closer, we join activists throughout the nation to save the Postal Service and continue to battle a broken board of elections. They finally implemented a law I authored in 2016 for an absentee ballot tracker. You can find it at nycabsentee.com. On the 14th, we'll be having our emergency preparedness and go bag giveaway from 6 to 7 with distributions the following day. We also have our fresh food box. The key thing that I'm going to just deputize all of you to is there are still people who don't have PPE, who don't have hand sanitizer, We have tons of them. If you are willing to be a captain for your block, for your building, or even get a building service worker to hand it out to neighbors, we have it. We will give it to you. We'll give you hundreds or thousands of masks plus sanitizers. To wrap up, we've all read the headlines that New York City is dying, even dead, but nothing could be further from the truth. With the obituaries already written, New York City finds itself in the same position as Mark Twain, who once said, "The reports of my death are greatly exaggerated." Please take a moment to read my piece on Medium. I hope you'll join me in cheering for our city and all those who make it a best place in the world, like those of you who are part of this community board and watching at home. And you can read all 41 articles in our newsletter at benkalos.com/newsletter, and we'll post everything on. It is 7:17. That is my time.
You're amazing. That rocks. Okay, thanks, Ben. Yeah, we are not dead. That's for sure. Okay, let's see, who do we have next? I'm sorry, I lost my. Is Harvey on? Assemblymember Harvey Epstein. That's who I have next to my list. I'm not sure if Harvey's. Oh. Okay, we'll get back to Harvey. I do see that our Borough President Gail Brewer has joined us. And Gail, are you free to? No?
Yep, I'm here.
There she is. Oh, hey, Gail Brewer, if you have the floor. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I can do the video too. Here we go. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. Okay. Congratulations to Board 6. I'll be very brief. A couple of things. Certainly with the schools, we're very familiar with all the issues that the council member just listed. I will say that we as community boards, we know that we've had some meetings with the executive superintendent, and I want to thank you and your colleagues for participating. I think that we have to be very vigilant about the learning lab, and obviously about those that are going to be doing blended, and obviously what about persons who are going to be remote. So I know that your committees will be looking at that. I'd love to hear back. It's not clear that everybody who wants to do blended learning will also have the opportunity to be part of a learning lab. It will not be fully utilized in terms of numbers until the end of the year. So please keep us updated about that issue. And I think all the issues, there are some schools in your district that are not going to be open. There are quite a few in the borough of Manhattan because they're not up to code in terms of ventilation. I do want to say something else about the schools, which is not dire, but I am looking for tutors. We are going to be circulating in our newsletter, which comes out every Thursday, how to get vetted by the New York City Department of Education so that you can then be an assistant to those who are learning online or those who are using remote, period. JCC Manhattan some months ago had 200 members who were vetted already by the DOE, and they have been so conscientiously working with students. It has made a huge difference. Every principal is begging me for tutors. So I just want to say that's something that we're going to be asking your help on. It's a commitment, but it's something that for those of us who are at home or who are looking to see what we can do during this pandemic, nothing could be more important than the education of our children. Second, the issue of police precinct barricades is not, again, something that's top of everyone's mind, but for those of us in the neighborhood, we did put out a report showing that most of the precincts in the borough of Manhattan have barricades for the street. We have heard from the police commissioner that they're reevaluating. Some of them have come down, but some of them are still up. And I think that it doesn't send a good message to those of us who are trying to improve community police relations. And I'll leave it at that. I know we're sick of the census, but let me tell you what we have been able to do. We talked to the New York City Board of Elections, and we found out that 35,000 Manhattanites, I'm sure plenty in Board 6, moved temporarily, understandably, and they are now going to get a postcard from actually the League of Women Voters. We're helping to pay for it, and it's going to say, please fill out the census. We know you've moved temporarily. Do not use your temporary, use your permanent Manhattan home as an address. Refill it out if you have to. Second, in addition to that, we sent in the borough of Manhattan 140,000 postcards maybe a month ago, and just recently another 140,000 to those that are on the lowest performing census tracts. Some of them in Board 6, some of them in Board 5, some of them in Board 8, and certainly some in Board 1 in the financial district. You know what the issue is, that people have just moved and not filled it out. So, and then finally, we were out on the streets. We did get some money from the governor, ESD, Empire State Development, very late, but we got it. And we were the first borough president of all 5 to get it out. It went to the BPs, not to the mayor, to community groups that are working in Harlem, in the Washington Heights area, Korean community, etc., trying to make sure that they can work alongside, complement the work that's going on with those who are knocking on doors. We're also trying to work with, again, 32BJ. We're trying to get census workers declared essential workers, because then they can be allowed into the buildings where many doormen understandably say, you're not an essential worker, you can't get in. Doormen are a problem. So if you have some suggestions for that, let me know. Poll sites are a problem. We're trying to make sure that they are not schools, because I know all those issues, either for the pre-voting or the voting day. And so we are trying to work with some of the cultural organizations to make sure that they could be poll sites. Suggestions, I'm sure, are welcome. I know that garbage is a problem. 65% of the weekday service was cut and 100% of the weekend, the litter baskets. So that's a big challenge. We're all out there cleaning. I don't know how many cleanups I've been on. I'm sure you have also. But the other one that was cut was organics or composting, depending on what you call it. And that was cut completely. So we're very upset about it, because people had learned to be, we need to save our composting, our organics, and it should not be going to the landfill. It should be staying for our composting community. So we're putting together a very major solid waste advisory board group, plus those who are interested in this topic and helping us. We've raised some money, and we're going to be looking at organics for the future, because it should be something that we do, and it should be profitable. Makes no sense that we have to get compost from Delaware or something when we could be making sure it comes from New York. We also have learned, I don't know how this is going to work, the schools are going to be doing organics. Very strange. I am very always concerned about the dining. I'm glad that there will be indoor dining. I hope it works. This mayor is going to have apparently 400 people doing some of the monitoring. We'll see if that works. And I think you know as much about it as I do. I continue to always be afraid of the future for the seniors. It's some group of people that we all care about. We're trying to make sure that they get fed. They're still nervous about coming out. We need times at the grocery stores to be continued when they can go for their time and not be joining everybody else. Thank you, Board 6.
Thank you, Gail. I really appreciate it. Yeah, we have several of those items in resolutions tonight. So specifically around schools and the precinct closures, street closures, we still have those. Both of our precincts still have barricades up and some pretty good, pretty good security stops there. So appreciate it. All right, I think that we have Senator Brad Hoylman is next to speak if he is on the call. Senator Hoylman. Oh, there he is.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Nice to see everyone. Good to see everyone. I hope everyone is healthy and had a good weekend. I'm here with my colleague Sam Vasquez, who's on. Everybody knows he's doing such a great job for us during this difficult time. Wanted to let you know about some legislation that I have with Assemblymember Harvey Epstein to help struggling small businesses. We know that small businesses are what makes our neighborhoods unique, and they've been struggling mightily through this pandemic. That's why Harvey and I introduced this legislation that we hope will gain support in both houses. It would provide new commercial rent relief, and the rent obligation of covered tenants. COVID-19 impacted small businesses and not-for-profits would be limited under this legislation to the lesser of 20% of their actual income in a given month, or 1/3 of their contractual rent payments. Landlords have covered tenants would be required to waive 20% of the contractual rent. And through this legislation, the state would establish a commercial rent relief program consisting of money that we get from the federal government, we hope is still coming, to provide financial assistance to impacted landlords to make up the difference. If we don't get the money from the federal government, you've probably been reading about the fact that a number of my colleagues, including me, have made a number of different proposals to tax the very higher echelons of New York state taxpayers to pay for these types of services and rental relief programs that are in such dire need right now. Today, I testified at the State Division of Housing and Community Renewal on MCIs, specifically the reasonable cost schedule for major capital improvements. I did it in collaboration again with Assemblymember Epstein and Councilmember Keith Powers and the Stuytown Peter Cooper Village Tenants Association, as well as a number of other advocates. I called upon DHCR to delay the implementation of the cost schedule and make the third-party report on which the schedule is based available to the public for review and discussion. There are a number of issues with the cost schedule as currently written, including excessive cost estimates for MCIs, the creation of loopholes that are going to allow owners to pass on even more of the expense to tenants, and inclusion of items that shouldn't be considered MCIs at all. I'll be following up on that with my colleagues in DHCR to ensure that tenants are heard on this important issue. Today, I was at a rally on the Upper West Side outside of the Lucerne Hotel that has been converted temporarily into a space for homeless during the COVID-19 pandemic. You probably know that the mayor has reversed course on some of his housing plans, pandemic-related housing plans for homeless. You know, I was there with Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal, the Councilmember Helen Rosenthal, Jumaane Williams, the borough president was there to decry this turn because it really, I think, sends a terrible message that if you just threaten a lawsuit against this city administration on the issue of homelessness, which is so fraught with specific community concerns, and the city capitulates as they did in this instance, well, it's going to be hard to locate a shelter, a residential program of this nature, even if it is temporary, moving forward. At the end of the day, we certainly need more supportive housing. We're calling on that too. Both the state and the city have to step up in that regard. But we are approaching, folks, a humanitarian crisis as it pertains to homelessness. And we have to open our minds and our hearts to solve this problem. So I hope to be working on that more with you moving forward, along with my colleagues in Albany. And then we're continuing our fight for a fair election in November. I joined a number of colleagues about a bill I sponsor with Assemblymember Dick Godfrey that would allow the Board of Elections to create secure drop boxes throughout the state to collect ballots. The governor just yesterday has issued an executive order that requires local boards of elections to make plans that allow New Yorkers to drop off ballots at some Board of Election and poll sites. But I really don't think this is enough. We need to go further to have these convenient drop boxes dispersed throughout the entire city and state so everyone can vote this November. These are secure boxes. They look like mailboxes or FedEx boxes that would give voters a safe option to submit their absentee ballots outdoors without having to go inside and risk their health and vote early and not rely on the post office. 33 states, Molly, and the District of Columbia have some sort of ballot drop box scheme to allow voters to go around the post office to cast their absentee or early ballots. And I believe it's time for New York to join that list. So we're going to continue to fight for that. Thanks so much.
Awesome, thank you. And as a former Oregonian, I dropped my ballot in the mail, in the box 20 plus years ago when, living there. So it's ridiculous that it should be simpler. Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully it'll take us less than 20 years to catch up.
Yes, yeah. All right, thank you. All right, so we'll move on. And I think, let's see, we have Katie Loeb from Councilmember Carlina Rivera's office. Katie's on the line. Hi, Katie.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Sorry about that. So thanks for having me. I hope everyone had a good summer and is getting ready for back to school, which has been pushed back till September 21st. Carolina was very vocal with her colleagues in City Council, including Councilmember Mark Traeger, who's chair of the Education Committee, is calling for the delay in the start of school until all the buildings are safe. We're very glad to hear that it was pushed back, and we're going to continue to monitor these buildings and their plans as they go forward. Any concerns, feel free to bring them to me in our office. We'll be following up with DOE regularly. Back to school, unrelated, in preparing our hospital system for a second surge in COVID, or at least to be prepared moving forward. Carolina has been very active as chair of the hospitals committee in this. She proposed 16 recommendations, which I won't go over now, but she presented them at the state's joint committee hearing on hospital responses. And you can read that on the state's website, or if you get our board report, there's a clickable link there. And continuing the work at the city level, we have 2 hearings in September. One on the effects of COVID-19 on our city's jails. We know there was a big outbreak in jails, and so we're doing a joint hearing with Councilmember Keith Powers and the Criminal Justice Committee on September 21st. And then we'll be doing a hearing on the test and trace program on September 25th with Councilmember Mark Levine and the Health Committee. As we work towards, we said indoor dining is opening up September 30th. We'll be monitoring that, but we'll also be working on other things to help small businesses, including the personal liability protections. Carolina passed a bill and City Council passed a bill about preventing landlords from coming after the personal liability of small business owners and commercial leases. And we're hearing an extension of that bill, and we're very hopeful that that will be passed and just codify that, that protection for small business owners. And September is also the last month for the census. Probably, there's some questions there, but probably the last month. So very important we fill it out. So we're doing everything we can to get people to fill out the census. And we're holding an event this Saturday, September 12th at 12 p.m. at the 2 Phipps houses, 444 2nd Avenue and 330 East 26th Street. So hope we'll see you guys there. And thank you so much.
Great, thanks, Katie. And I do see some elected representatives have their hands raised. I know you're on the call, so I kind of just have a little list here. I'm trying to go in order. So I don't know if you have questions, but if you don't have a question, I know I got you, and I'll call on you as we go down the list here. Okay, thanks, guys. All right, so Ben Jacobs from Councilmember Keith Powers' office is on the line.
Yeah. Well,
hey, Ben.
My mic isn't working. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great.
Good.
Awesome. Sorry. Okay. Hey, I was going to go into a whole thing about how it's been 6 months since I've been in Manhattan, and I've been stuck in my 1-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. But you have a clock running, so I will skip all that, as well as a number of things the folks who spoke ahead of me mentioned, which are a bit repetitive to what we have. But I wanted to mention the Councilmember Powers, proposed the Small Business Recovery Lease Program with a couple of his colleagues in Albany and his Councilman Bradlander in Brooklyn, which would allow for commercial leases for businesses essentially to renegotiate their leases with their landlords to get them reduced, and the landlords would get a property tax break for a period as a way to compensate for that, because that's one of the real obstacles here. Just want to touch on, I know we've heard about New York is experiencing homelessness and everything happening there. Of course, you're probably all aware of the everything happening with the Vanderbilt Y. I know Councilman Powers has been, we've set up meetings with the Vanderbilt Y and Department of Homeless Services, Friends of Deckhammer School Plaza, the Turtle Bay Association, just trying to keep the lines of communication as open there as possible and make it as transparent as possible and make the whole situation work as well as possible, because being a good neighbor goes both ways, and it's really important that the community is welcoming and that site is successful. Because our right to shelter law is just so pivotal, and we don't celebrate it enough. I think we've already touched on everything going on with the 13th and 17th precinct with the blocks being closed off. Want to thank you guys for your leadership on that as a community board. We've been in touch with City Hall. I'm not going to stop emailing them until we get an actual response on that. And on the election, I just wanted to note that, for everything everyone says about the Board of Elections, we've heard a lot of complaints about where poll sites are and how poll sites were configured in our district, even going back to Keith's campaign in 2017. We've spent the better part of the last couple of years working with the Board of Elections. We've sat down, we've gone out to sites. I've got out there and measured with their fancy laser measuring things and the distance and all that. We've got new poll sites open in CB6, at the Ford Foundation, at the Vanderbilt Y. The Stuyvesant Town Community Center is a poll site again, so that everyone in Sci-Town can vote in Sci-Town. The Brookdale campus, I know that's not the best early voting site for everyone in CB6, but it's open now. So we were very happy to help with that. Want to do more on that going forward. The composting we've all heard about. We're going to be we're working with the Lower East Side Ecology Center to open a community composting site in Stuyvesant Town. So more on that soon, but Keith wanted me to thank the Stuyvesant Town Peter Cooper Village Tennis Association for bringing that to his attention and making that work. More details on that soon. And my time is up, but everyone should get a flu shot. Thank you.
That was impressive, Ben. And that was a fun little beep. I hadn't heard that beep before. It's a little annoying, but that's kind of fun. Thank you. Yeah. So we have Rebecca Grigas from Assemblymember Dan Court's office.
Hi, Molly. Hi, everybody. It's Rebecca. Hi, from Assemblymember Dan Court's office. I hope everyone enjoyed their summer. I have a few things to touch upon in my report. First, as mentioned previously, the Board of Elections has created a absentee ballot tracking system, which you can easily go on the vote.nyc website to find out more about how you can track your absentee ballot once you request it. We think it may be because of the Assembly members' legislation to establish an absentee ballot tracking system that I mentioned in our last meeting's report. So we want to say it was because of that, but we don't want to claim credit, but we're very glad that this development came about. Secondly, one of the Assembly members' bills has gained traction and national news coverage, which is his bill on geolocation tracking. News outlets such as Wired, Associated Press, and more have done pieces about the Assembly members' bill that would prevent law enforcement agencies from obtaining geofence warrants to search people's cellular data based off of their location near a potential crime scene. You can visit the Assembly members' Twitter page to find all of those articles. They're very informative pieces. It's a hot new topic. So if you're interested, please feel free to go and take a look at those. And we are still assisting folks with unemployment, helping them to connect with tenant resources and a lot more. So if you need help with anything, please give us a call or send an email and we will do our best to help you out. And that is all for my report. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Rebecca. And next we have Taylor from Representative Carolyn Maloney's office.
Hello, good evening, everybody. I hope you're all doing well, had a good summer. The Congresswoman has had a very busy summer, with the biggest focus being saving the Postal Service and ensuring a complete and accurate count on the census. The census ends September 30th, which you can fill out if you haven't yet at my2020census.gov. And we've been working on that. There is a oversight hearing this week, another one on the census. Tomorrow, she will also be hosting a roundtable on her Pandemic Risk Insurance Act. The Oversight Committee will also be, or has also opened an investigation into the deaths at Fort Hood. Last week, following her August 24th oversight hearing, The Congresswoman subpoenaed Postmaster General DeJoy for the documents she asked him to produce. We're waiting on some of those still. We've gotten some. She also authored a bill, the Delivering for America Act, to protect the U.S. Postal Service, that passed the House in emergency session on August 22nd. Following that, the hearing, she also introduced the Nonpartisan Postmaster General Act. She also joined a group of other committee chairs, asked the Department of Defense Inspector General to launch an investigation based on a new complaint alleging a campaign of retaliation against Vindman, Lieutenant Colonels Vindman. She also requested the Department of Homeland Security Inspector General review the legality of actions taken by Chad Wolf as acting Secretary of Homeland Security and Ken Cuccinelli as the senior official performing the duties of Deputy Secretary. She also released a memo updating Oversight Committee members on the status of the committee's investigations related to the subpoena of the president's accounting firm. There's also a lot of other things that were done in the past few months, which can be found on our website at maloney.house.gov, on the Oversight website at oversight.house.gov, by subscribing to our newsletter. There's also going to be a lot more to hear about after this month's session happens that just started this week. So thank you. If you have any questions, I will put my email in the chat for anyone who doesn't have it yet.
Great, thanks, Taylor. Very busy, a lot going on. Okay, and next we have Reese Pear from Assemblymember Godfrey's office.
Yes, thank you very much. I hope everyone had a great summer. Senator Hoylman talked a little bit about the Dropbox voting bill, and so in the interest of brevity, I will just skip over that, but Assemblymember Godfrey is, of course, a sponsor in the assembly of that bill. Regarding the COVID pandemic, as any public health authority would confirm, defeating the virus is going to depend on testing and contact tracing, but that is not going to work unless all the people are confident that the information that they give to contact tracers is not going to be used against them by immigration authorities or provided to entities like insurance companies or marketing firms. Therefore, Assemblymember Godfrey introduced a bill to protect the confidentiality of contact tracing for COVID-19, along with New York State Senate Health Committee Chair Gustavo Rivera. It passed both houses of the legislature in July and is awaiting the governor's signature. Even before COVID-19, New York had the biggest income inequality of any state, and we urgently needed major increased public investment in healthcare, public education from pre-K through higher education, housing, mass transit, a lot of other fundamental services. Those needs are even more pressing now. Assemblymember Godfrey believes they could best be met by raising new revenues through taxes on high wealth that wouldn't affect the overwhelming majority of New Yorkers. That's why he's joined with nearly 100 colleagues in the legislature, labor unions, the Fiscal Policy Institute, and activists in the Strong Economy for All coalition to call for a balanced state tax policy where everyone pays their fair share. Just today, a poll came out conducted by Hart Research that showed that an overwhelming majority of New Yorkers favor increased taxes on people earning over $1 million a year, and also on people earning over $500,000 a year. He also this summer joined with Senator Alessandra Biaggi to introduce the Budget Equity Act. It would amend the New York State Constitution to ensure the legislature plays an equal role with the governor in shaping the state budget. It's currently interpreted in many judicial rulings. The New York State Constitution gives any governor enormous sway over the budget process. The executive branch, therefore, has a disproportionate control over the final budget process. It creates a strong imbalance between the two branches, which are supposed to be co-equal. And he has introduced legislation to pass a constitutional amendment in New York State. As chair of the Assembly Health Committee, he convened a hearing last month on COVID, a devastating toll in nursing homes around the state, focused a lot of public attention on the crisis that happened during the pandemic, but it's something that Assemblymember Godfrey has been focused on for many years. He believes that the state has long kind of neglected nursing homes before COVID-19, like inadequate staffing, and is trying to focus pressure on the larger problems. I guess I will stop there. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Brees. And we've been joined by Assemblymember Harvey Epstein. If Harvey is on screen.
I'm here, Molly.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Good.
So, should I start?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. I just want to wish everyone a happy Labor Day and welcome back to our September. I'm not sure what it's going to be this year, September, but we are here. And so the things that are kind of pressing to everyone knows about is, one is, we've heard what's been going on around the post office and the slowdown. I organized a rally along with Senator Hoylman and Councilwoman Rivera, as well as District Leader Blasco, just really pushing the issue of the 14th Street Post Office. There were rallies all over the country. We're proud to have our own local rally. As everyone recognizes, our small businesses, which is really the heart of the city, are all in crisis every day. Places that we all know and love are just closing. And so I introduced a bill, which is really the rent relief bill for small businesses. If people want to know, it's A-10-901, along with Senator Hoylman. And the bill really focuses on rent relief for small businesses. In July, as Bruce mentioned, we were in session and we did some work. And one of the things we did actually in June was rent relief for residential tenants, but we did nothing for our commercial tenants. And if we want to keep the 29,000 restaurants, the tens of thousands of small businesses, the local card store, the nail salon, the yarn store, the bodega, we're going to need real rent relief. So that bill really is a critical piece of legislation that we've been pushing along with coalitions from all over the city and the state. And hope is that we can get enough traction on that. Earlier today, the DHCR had a hearing on proposed, I would hope they were regulations, but they really weren't. They were just documents where they were going to look at what's reasonable customary charges for people who are unstabilized. What we passed in 2019 limited the major capital improvements to 2% of the cost, 2% of the MCI to add on to a rent a year. Also, we had a reasonableness standard in that legislation. HCR basically threw all those ideas out the window today with their hearing and their proposal, and allowed a huge waiver process that's going to help all property owners who are not tenants. Really is in violation of what we passed in legislation. It's misguided attempt by HCR, and something that us and other advocates are really fighting for, and I know my colleagues are with me on this. We also had a hearing, lots of hearings, as Reese mentioned, Assembly Godfrey had. We had hearing yesterday just on people with disabilities and the struggles that people with disabilities are having through the COVID epidemic. And we know how much COVID has really impacted communities of color, but people with disabilities, as with a 70% unemployment rate prior to COVID, they're really getting hit. And so we really need to focus on how we support the disability community, both in education, employment, and other opportunities. And finally, actually, just two more things. One are on school reopenings. Everyone knows where we're at. I'm just deeply troubled that we're not ready, and my kids and everyone's kids are potentially going back to school on the 21st. And what we're hearing from the teachers is, we are not ready, and there isn't enough revenue, and the schools need to be safe places. And I have some deep concerns. There's a rally starting outside my office tomorrow at 3 p.m. if anyone comes to 7th Street and Avenue B and join us and raise real red flags about whether we're ready to reopen our schools. And then census, as everyone knows, we have just till the end of this month to fill out the census. So if you haven't done it, I encourage everyone to do it. We need to fill out the census. And the last thing will be just on revenue. And Bruce mentioned this effort that Assemblymember Godfrey and I are leading around the Budget Justice Coalition. And we had 105 members sign on to a letter to the leadership saying, to the governor and this Assembly Speaker and majority member of the Senate, saying we need revenue, not cuts. Now we need to get back into Albany and pass those bills. We can't wait any longer. With a $5 billion cut in education, $2 billion for our schools, means 9,000 teachers get laid off. You see 22,000 workers in the city getting laid off. We need revenue. Now we need money from the federal government, there's no question, but the state as real opportunities for revenue, whether it's on high income earners, against private equity companies, a pied-à-terre tax. There's so many sources of revenue that are available for us and that we need to do it. So what I ask you all to do is get involved. We need people to call the governor, push him. Today he talked about maybe new revenue on high income earners. We got to keep pushing him because we need revenue. If not, everything we care about and everything we love in the city can fall apart because the cuts will be draconian and it will mean a real difficult time for the city, unfortunately, for decades to come. So be with me, focus on real revenue. We need to fight for revenue, not cuts. And I am happy that you are all hopefully doing well and safe in this September.
Well, you too, Harvey. Thank you so much. Thanks for that. All right. Sorry, I lost track of who we're up. So it's Madeline for Senator Krueger's office. Madeline's on the call.
Hi, CB6. It's good to be back with you. This is Madeline from Senator Krueger's office. Our office has still been working hard to provide frequent COVID-19 updates via email. Anyone can sign up for those at lizkrueger.com. Our office also published our Albany update that constituents should have received in the mail yesterday or today. That included info on responding to the pandemic, housing, health, education, voting reforms, unemployment, etc. That Albany update is also available on our website. Our office has still been working on thousands of unemployment cases, people who are stuck waiting or experiencing issues with their unemployment insurance benefits. If you or someone you know is experiencing trouble with your unemployment insurance, just give our office a call and we'll try to help you with that. Senator Krueger has hosted several town halls throughout the summer. Senator Hoylman was talking about some of the updates related to voting and the upcoming general election. Our next town hall is September 17th from 7 to 8:30, and we'll be talking about the upcoming election and how to make your vote count. Senator Krueger will be joined by Susan Lerner, who's the Executive Director of Common Cause New York, as well as Susie Gomes and some of her colleagues from the League of Women Voters, as well as the Voter Services Committee. So join us there. We'll cover the details of absentee, how to apply, how to register, how to track your absentee ballot, and all of the changes that have recently come out. And we'll have an FAQ or a question and answer period for some of these experts to answer questions about the upcoming election. Senator Krueger has transitioned our annual senior resource fair to a 3-day event this year. It'll be a 3-day virtual event on October 13th, 14th, and 15th. So stay tuned for details about that. And Senator Krueger sends her best. That is all I have.
Great, thanks, Madeline.
Thank you.
Okay, up next is Michael Stinson from Comptroller Scott Stringer's office and his beautiful baby, I hope.
Yeah, he's in the background making noise, so I apologize.
Okay, good.
Good to see everybody. I hope, well, everybody else wish you a happy summer, so I'll do it as well. So hope you all had a great summer. Just 2 quick things I'll mention. I think it was about 2 weeks ago now at this point, even though every day has been the same. The Comptroller, as well as Congressman Adriano Espaillat, sent a joint letter to the City Department of Sanitation and the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, calling on the city to take immediate steps to address the overflowing litter baskets and increase rat sightings along the city's commercial corridors. Citing dozens of complaints from business owners across the city, Congressman and the Comptroller underscored that the mounds of garbage are both unsightly and unsanitary, driving away customers at a time when struggling small businesses are relying on foot traffic for survival and attracting rats and vermin, which spread disease while our city is in the midst of a deadly pandemic. Congressman Espaillat and Comptroller Stringer proposed recommendations to remedy the untenable piles of trash accumulating in our city streets, sidewalks, and public spaces, including working with business improvement districts and business owners to provide flexibility to businesses that want to add street bins at their own expense and broadening the Clean Curbs pilot program. I'll send you the full letter. It's also available on our Comptroller website. That's comptroller.mic.gov. And then one other thing, just last week, The comptroller proposed a first of its kind bike to school plan to encourage safe and sustainable biking options for New York City high school students on their commutes to and from school. The comptroller's plan called on the city in partnership with the philanthropic community to build out 1.5 miles each of protected bike lanes around 50 New York City high school buildings in the next year, and to provide free bicycles or city bike memberships to every low-income public high school student. With reductions in bus and subway service, school buses operating in extremely limited capacity, and the continued need for social distancing on public transit, the comptroller's bike to school proposal offers a safe and efficient transportation option for New York City's young people. I'll leave it at that. I'll send these links to you guys, and that's it. I'll look forward to seeing you next month.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, your son likes those ideas. He was excited about them.
I know, he likes to make his voice heard here.
That's great. Thank you for bringing him, sharing him with us.
Yep.
All right, so I think last elected official is Philip Ellison from Public Advocate Jumaane Williams' office.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be here as we start up again. And so just a few updates around feelings and policy and legislation coming out of the Public Advocate's office from Jumaane Williams. So recently, the Public Advocate in our office actually has been heavily involved in the school reopening fight, so to speak, partly pushing and reimagining how we should open schools and disagreeing with the mayor and laying out a plan in July, as well as supporting the teachers and calling out the mayor in regards to the lack of preparedness. So part of that led to being a vocal critic on this reopening plan and really calling for there to be a delay until October based upon the safety standards and the infrastructure needs being met, right? Then allowing a phased reopening to begin with elementary school students and older students returning in 2021. So we've really tried to position that, listening to science, like let's be safe and cautious and actually push back for some of that. And we're seeing some of the infrastructure issues remain in these days that make us really cautious this time. So that's one of the elements that the Public Advocate's been really pushing on. The other is recently City Council passed legislation in a co-sponsorship between Jumaane Williams and Carlos Menchaca as we reopen, and construction now is starting up again, that the training deadlines be pushed until March. We think that the safety that folks have access, and people really, construction workers need to be thought about as we've been thinking about essential workers throughout this pandemic, that construction workers have access and time to really realign with the safety measures that need to be as we reopen. So that was passed recently in the City Council, and the Public Advocate was a co-sponsor. And when we think about the school reopening and just dealing with the issues of schools, our office and the Public Advocate introduced two, we think, really key legislation to be considered by the City Council. Intro 2058, understanding that the digital divide and even kind of punitive measures happening in our city in regards to remote learning and understanding the use and need of data. We announced the legislation with Mark Traeger, the City Council Chair on Education, for the Department of Education to report weekly on remote learning attendance, right? That reporting be disaggregated by school, grade, race, individualized education plan status, and other factors, but really use the data to target where we need the support to go to students and families, not just punish or not just continue on as families are falling behind during this era of remote learning. So that's really important. And lastly, on this piece is thinking about if we have a second wave, if there's another pandemic or emergency that happens, that DOE develop a plan for food and that be really thoughtful around food access for everyone and lunch, breakfast, and have a plan for that, not just be prepared. And so those are the elements. Lastly, I launched an update email for Manhattan that I sent out to the community board. So I hope you all have access to that to understand what what he's saying, what we're doing, and what we're thinking about, and any events that we have. Thank you for your time, and you all have a wonderful night.
Excellent. Thank you, Philip. That was good stuff. All right, so now we'll move into, we have I think some members of the public that would like to speak. Jesus, do you have You have the list. So I just want to say, I'm not sure how many folks we have wanting to speak, but okay, so 4 people, but we do have the timer, so it's a 3 minutes. But I did want to say that it's not an abundance of people, but you know, if it's the same topic as someone else has, you know, discussed, you might want to just say I agree if it's indeed you know, all in agreement in a similar topic and a similar you know, in support of or opposed to type of thing. So Jesus, do you want to announce the names?
Sure, I can do that.
Okay.
All right. Our first speaker is Pete Harrison. He's a district resident and lives at Stuytown, and he wants to speak in support of density reduction hotel sites for the homeless. Pete, take it away.
Hello there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey everybody, hope you had a good summer. I am here to speak briefly, I guess, in favor of housing the homeless in hotels during COVID-19. I do look forward to the committee meeting on September 21st to speak in more detail about this issue and the short-term solutions and long-term solutions. But the point tonight, just quickly, is we are obviously hearing a lot about the homeless. I think we're going to hear some more after I speak, but we're not hearing anything from the homeless. And I think that matters a lot. So I'm going to take the opportunity to speak up for them to the extent that I can. So before COVID started, there were already over 60,000 homeless New Yorkers. That's a record. The vast majority of them are women and children. Now, when COVID hit, the guidelines were to stay at home. But obviously these individuals cannot stay at home. They don't have homes. And the shelter systems that the vast majority of them are in are crowded and just petries for expanding the COVID. We talked about it in jails. One of the other employees mentioned the jail breakout here. The stakes are real here. Reports are saying that a homeless individual has a 79% higher chance to die of COVID-19 in a shelter system than outside of a shelter system. Obviously, we have a current population of about 10,000 homeless individuals that were part of the mayor's program to house the homeless in hotels. That is not a great solution either. In many cases, they're doubled up. The CDC has very clear outlines. The best procedure is to have an individual at an individual room. So we're not even near the recommended public outreach for what is required to protect these individuals and protect the public health. FEMA is reimbursing all of this. So this is not something the city is going out of pocket for. We're obviously in a fiscal crisis already. So this, from a basic common sense understanding of public health, every New Yorker has a right to safety. Every New Yorker has a responsibility to protect each other. And this is a case where that is not happening, where our neighbors are resisting the implementation of these hotels. I understand their anecdotes about homeless individuals. These are the same kind of fear mongering that were used to shut down SROs, to shut down these types of supporting housing services in the good times before COVID. So in a matter of good common sense public health, we must protect these individuals. We must find these short-term solutions to house individuals and families, to provide services. And then the long term, which I hope to talk about more on the 21st, is a agenda for housing for all and more social housing, more funding. It takes city, state, and obviously federal leadership. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Pete. All right, Jesus.
All right, the next speaker is P. Wong, who is a resident of this district and lives in Kips Bay. They want to speak against density reduction hotel sites for the homeless. P. Wong, I will enable your microphone. Just give me 1 second. All right, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. So yes, I'm here to talk about how I am against the homeless hotels. But before I go into that, I wanted to provide some context for the neighborhood that I'm in. I'm in Kips Bay. And Kips Bay is home to HRA Men's Shelter, which is the largest men's shelter with 850 beds, and Main Chance Drop-In Center and the ACAS Youth Center. So before the homeless hotels even came into our neighborhood, we had a population that included former felons and at this time, 47 registered sex offenders. And of those sex offenders, the sex offender parolees that are living within 1,000 feet of the Churchill School, that is actually currently a violation of New York law. So that's the context of the neighborhood before the homeless shelters came into place. So then in 2020, we have in a span of 6 blocks, 5 homeless hotels that brings about 700 rooms. Now, whether that's a single or double occupancy room, that is bringing now 700 to up to 1,400 additional people in a span of 6 blocks from 25th Street to 31st Street. So if you put HRA with these homeless hotels, we have 2,250 homeless people, mostly men, in this span of 6 blocks, which is putting an undue burden on our neighborhood of Kips Bay. And of those residents in the hotels, some of them are former Rikers prisoners. And statistics show that 2,500 prisoners that were released, 10% are rearrested 450 times. That means 1 prisoner is arrested more than once. So what does that mean for our neighborhood? That means we have an increase in crime and a decrease in a quality of life. How so? Open drug use, urinating, defecating on the streets, increased crime such as robberies and assaults, drunken and aggressive behavior, menacing, loitering, and panhandling. And like I said, in a span of 6 blocks, it's just an undue burden and puts our youth, our children, and our elderly at risk. And I'm not the only one who feels this way. There's a community consensus of nearly 1,200 residents signing a petition that were also against housing the homeless in the hotels. But I am all for alternatives. So if Jacob Javits can be used as a COVID hospital, I believe Jacob Javits is a viable alternative for housing the homeless. But right now, our neighborhood of Kips Bay is really heavily residential and very small, whereas Jacob Javits is really set up for this kind of thing. And even though it wasn't maximized to its benefit as a COVID-19 hospital, I think it will work as housing the homeless. Thank you for listening.
All right, thank you. Jesus?
All right, the next speaker is Evan Rothhart, who is a member and administrator of the group 3rd and 33rd. All right, I've enabled your mic.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So briefly, I do agree with the last speaker. And a little bit of background. I grew up in this neighborhood in the 60s and 70s. I went to PS 116, junior high school 104. I'm now raising 3 of my children here. One has just started at Borough, and the other 2 go to school in the future. And this is really my concern is specifically focusing on housing of the Rikers and possibly other prisoners who've been released from state prisons who were homeless once they were released and they're placed in certain hotels. The state and the city are both not identifying where these particular ex-cons or people on probation are. They're not responding negatively to FOIL requests. So my real concern, or what I really want to voice, is safety, and safety for those who, like my children, older people who are facing certain risks from this population, and very specific to like where we live. Local deli owners have confided in me that individuals associated living in some of these hotels have come in to their stores, shown weapons, gotten into like a lot of fights and things, although it doesn't seem that they are really doing criminal activity in our neighborhood right now. They are certainly detracting from the quality of life. They're sitting on and blocking entrances to buildings, creating quite a negative impact. So that's just something to consider. And certainly, like the last speaker said, open to solutions. But my larger concern is to have some accounting from the city and or state as to who is actually living in these hotels. And maybe not by name, but just how many people are there and what kind of crimes have they been convicted of. All right. Thanks very much for listening, and have a good night.
Great, thanks, Evan. Is there a final?
Yes, there's one more, yes. Alexandra Sasha Nesterchuk. She did not give her affiliation, so Ms. Nesterchuk, if you can state your affiliation when you start speaking, we'd appreciate that. I'll enable your mic now.
Yes, hi, how are you? My name is Alexandra Nesterchuk. I am with Met Council on Housing, though I will speak on my own term because I am a resident of Upper West Side for 12 years. It's been the nicest, quietest neighborhood until we've got a lot of new homeless that have been injected into our neighborhood, and obviously defecation and urinating and everything that I have to agree with Ms. Wong. It's exactly the same thing happening on Upper West Side. Women and children are scared to go outside, as well as elderly, because homeless people, as much as we care about their safety as well, and them as people, this issue needs to be addressed by our mayor, our government, our country, because I'm just really curious why people and who decide to put men that have been pedophiles, registered pedophiles and drug addicts into residential neighborhood where children and elderly are affected, as well as instead of women and children, as I would, for example, choose to do. But also, it's an issue, it's a higher issue than anything else, because homeless should be attended to and maybe build facilities for them, because a lot of them, it's a mental issue, homelessness, right? So there's a lot of people with mental illnesses, and they should be addressed. And maybe there would be, a building of sanatoriums for them, outside of the city in a normal environment with medication, instead of imposing them on safety of New York City people. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Alexandra. All right. Hold for 1 minute. I'm so sorry. Okay. So we are, I think, moving out of public session. Is that, Jesus, is that all we have? I do believe he just said so. Okay. So we'll move into the business session, and we have the June 10th full board meetings that were distributed earlier to the board. So I'd like to adopt those meeting minutes if there are no objections. And see, well, Andrew has his hand raised. I don't know, Andrew, I'm sorry, was that for?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh no, I had my hand raised about the comments section. If I could say something, but if not, don't want to interrupt the process.
The chat or?
In the comments before, just in the open comments a moment ago.
It means the public session.
In the open session.
Can we speak to that with housing? We have all those issues coming with our next, I'm not even sure what the date is, but our next for that committee report, I think we'll address a lot of those issues. So, and can we, let's adopt the minutes and then we can go back to, I see Jim and someone else might have their hand raised. So Jim, I want to adopt the minutes of the June full board. You're on mute. Oh, he's on mute.
Sorry.
Oh.
This is on the minutes.
Okay.
I had sent a note and I just wanted to make sure that my vote on, I think it was resolutions 5A and 5B was recorded as a no.
Yes,
For reasons I explained in the email.
We got that. We got that.
So it's been changed? The vote's been changed?
Yes, it has.
Okay, thank you.
It was.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so seeing no other questions or objections, the June full board minutes are adopted. And my chair's report, I was actually going to honor one of our past members who's moved away, but he was unavailable tonight. So I was hoping to do it in person anyway. Maybe in several months we could do some of these things in person. So I am going to waive my report, except to say that I hear that it's Sandy McKee's birthday today. So happy birthday, Sandy. Yay. And that's all. Woohoo. All right, so Jesus, district manager's report.
Hello, everyone. I'll be super quick since we have a lot to get through tonight. I'll just touch upon a couple of housekeeping items. CB6 members, as you all know, every Wednesday, the CB6 office sends you an email with helpful updates, fittingly called the Wednesday email. Today's edition, you may have noticed, looked a little different because we're using the platform that we use for our newsletter instead of just a plain old email. That means that the email might be waiting for you in your spam or mass mail folder. So be sure to look for it there if you don't see it in your inbox, and to set a filter so it goes into your inbox directly. Changing gears, a few weeks ago, we sent every CB6 member an email regarding the city's identifying information law, which restricts how we can share the personally identifying information that we collect, like your information. The email contained a form that asked every member to select what information they are comfortable with us sharing. If you haven't filled out that form yet, please do so, as we will begin reaching out to members who have not submitted their forms. All right, that's it for me. That concludes my report.
Great, thanks, Jesus. Brian Van Nieuwenhoven, treasurer's report.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to try to make this quick. This is our first report for fiscal year 2021. We got a report from OMB on September 1st, and it reflects these numbers. Our personal services budget for the upcoming year is $228,321. We have a balance of $197,190 with $31,130 spent or obligated. Our current budget for other than personal services excluding rent is $140,659. This figure contains $110,185 of our retained street fair money, and our remaining OTPS budget is $30,474 for the year. We have not spent any of this budgeted money yet. Finally, similar to last year, we have a rent budget of $162,935. We have set aside all this money for a transaction to pay rent obligations for the remainder of the fiscal year, which ends on June 30th, 2021. Once again, when this is paid, we will have met our obligations and we will not have monthly reports of expenditures in that category. Does anyone have any questions?
No? Okay. Thanks, Brian. All right, and then since we have the honor of having Borough President Gail Brewer with us tonight, we'll skip Brian Lafferty's report, since we got a great report from Gail, and move into committee reports and resolutions. Let's see, who do we have starting? Oh, and this is, we're doing the elections committee initially, so I will step aside and let Jesus or Rick just start this portion and mute. Oh, mute myself. I'm pre-muted myself, so.
Rick, can you unmute yourself? Just give us a few moments.
Is there someone else from the committee that we're just having? Rick, is there someone else from the committee? Maybe he can't unmute. Shoot.
Yeah, he's having a little bit of difficulty.
Can we have someone else lead this? Or I know the committee is here tonight, so maybe there's someone else that can read the.
Oh, no, I got it now.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Thank you, Jesus. No, give me the microphone. I'll talk for the rest of the evening. The elections committee met twice. I want to thank the members of the committee. That was Jeannie D'Onofrio, Kevin O'Keefe, Joan Birnbaum, Raj Nayar. We submitted our report to the full board in August in accordance with the requirements of the bylaws. We updated that in the past few days to show that one candidate has dropped out. So that at this point for chair, we have Azia Abadi and Kyle Atide as our two candidates. First vice chair, Sandro Sherrod. Second vice chair, Mark Thompson. Treasurer, Brian Van Nieuwenhoven. Assistant treasurer, B. Disman. Secretary, Seema Luthra. And assistant secretary, Matt Bondi. There is now a final time for people to put their names forward to be considered for these offices. This is the last opportunity. The vote will be taken next month, at which time the candidates will have an opportunity to speak if they wish. But I'm going to go through each of the offices and ask if anyone would like to nominate themselves or someone else for that office. Are there any additional nominees for the office of chair of the board? Seeing none, the nominations are closed. Are there any additional nominations for first vice chair? Oh, if you can raise your hand so that somebody can see it, if that is the case. Are there any nominations for first vice chair? Seeing none, the nominations are closed. Are there any nominations for second vice chair? Seeing none, the nominations are closed. Are there any nominations for treasurer? Seeing none, the nominations are closed. Are there any nominations for assistant treasurer? Seeing none, the nominations are closed. Are there any nominations for the office of secretary? Seeing none, the nominations are closed. And are there any nominations for the office of assistant secretary? Seeing none, the nominations are closed. For any of the candidates, in particular the two that are in contention, if you'd like to submit something to the full board, you may contact the board and the board office, and the board office will distribute it to the entire board. Otherwise, you'll be given time at the October meeting before the board to make a statement if you choose.
Gosh, guess what? Mommy's going back to work tomorrow.
That's not me. Okay, that concludes the report of the elections committee.
Okay, thank you, Rick. All right, so we're not voting on anything for a few committees here, so let's just keep moving, and then I'll kind of go through the voting process when we get to the resolutions. Kavitha Matthew, Chair of 197A Working Group. Kavitha?
Yeah, I am going to waive my report for tonight.
Okay, thank you. And then we're back to Rick. Rick for Budget and Governmental Affairs.
I told you I'm going to talk the rest of the evening. First, I want to thank our outgoing chair, Brian Van Nieuwenhoven, and announce that Reshna Patel will be the vice chair for Budget and Governmental Affairs. We're going to have our next meeting on Monday, at which time we're going to be talking about the top budget requests that we'll be making. This will be our last opportunity to talk about it. Anyone is welcome to attend. The meeting is Monday, the 14th. And that's it. If you have any questions, you can contact me or the board office.
Very important this year. I know we have a lot of challenges. All right, so Corinne Vanderdonk, Chair, Housing, Homeless and Human Rights.
Molly, just really quick to let everyone, thank you for the people that spoke during the public session about the housing of people in our temporary housing of people in our hotels in our district. We will be having a meeting on September 21st, where the only thing we will be discussing is exactly that. It will start with an update on the current conditions, followed by a panel discussion around new ideas to solve this old problem. We will be talking about, there will be people talking about supportive housing, affordable housing, outreach people will be talking about their experiences, and we hope that you will all attend. Thank you.
I think let Andrew, do you want to speak now? And then we have Brian with his hand raised as well.
No, thanks, Molly. I just simply wanted to say to the comments that as a member of that committee, to those people who spoke, I really hear them, and I hear how concerned they are, and I join those deep concerns. And I just want people to know who are feeling a sense of fear that that I'm listening, and the committee is listening quite seriously, and that we plan to take action.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Brian?
Yeah, thank you. I had listened to some of the comments that were shared earlier tonight, and some of the concerns revolve around, possibly sanitation issues, issues about personal space between people on the street, because, we live in a crowded city, and it's really hard when someone has a home base in a neighborhood and is also taking up space on a sidewalk, and they're interacting with other people, and people feel uncomfortable. And I understand that that might get aired out, and it's something that we can work out possibly as a neighborly basis. I just wanted to mention that I saw some of the people mention that there was some perception of there being additional risk of local residents by living near homeless people or homeless facilities. One of the speakers mentioned potential pedophiles in those buildings, mentioned potential ex-convicts in those buildings. Just to clarify, there isn't a notification system that we use in the city of New York to let you know when you've moved down the street from a convicted felon. So a convicted felon can move into a townhouse anywhere in this city and be down the street from you, and you will not know it, because that is not an obligation. There's no such law pertaining to that. Applying that exact same standard to the homeless population, it offends me, but it's also completely not a legal concern. And I think that we need, as a community, to talk our way through that with our neighbors to let them know where certain public safety issues are good grounds for us to discuss and try to work through, and where certain other stuff really crosses the line and adds too much of an unfair burden to that population. The homeless people who are sheltered in our community, they're our neighbors. They live here. They're citizens. End of story.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, and we're working with, DHS, the outreach teams, BRC, Breaking Ground, and so on, and, the 13th and 17th precinct. We're really trying to have all, everyone talking and really trying to find solutions together and help folks that are out on the street or in the shelters and, don't have a lot of open space to go during the day. So we'll have this whole discussion on the 21st. I really look forward to it. Oh, Corinne, we should move the agenda, but Corinne and Jim, and then. Okay, go ahead, Corinne. Oh, and Yusuf, Corinne, Jim, and Yusuf, and then you can move.
Thank you, Molly. I just, just in case you can't make it on September 21st, we do ask people to try to find constructive solutions and to volunteer and help out. And so one of the things is that we are working on having a book drive for so that people can drop off books and puzzles and board games at the Vanderbilt Y for our new neighbors. And when it comes to people having to use the restroom, this is a real issue. This is a real problem. There are no public restrooms available right now. This is a problem that isn't going to go away unless we actually start providing public restrooms. So if you as a community organization, as a block, can find a church, can find a synagogue, can find a willing facility in your neighborhood that is able to open up their restrooms for our people that are experiencing homelessness, that would be a great help.
Jim?
Yeah, just speaking to the point about the homeless not being any different from homeless in the shelter being any different from homeless residing in a brownstone or whatever. I think the issue here is really a matter for the state legislature, and my view is that if someone is paroled and they do not have their own residence of a neighborhood, of a neighbor, of a relative or a friend, someone that will take them in, then we shouldn't probably be giving them parole. We do it, and this applies to violent felony offenders, particularly repeat offenders. If they're going to be released into the public, then either the state should provide a halfway house for at least 6 months, perhaps a year. Okay, these people have not finished their terms by and large. I mean, if they have, they have. That's a different condition. But if the parole board is giving people parole, then there should be some means for them to be housed in a facility that is not in a residential location. Javits Center, fine. Someplace like that, fine. But you can't house these people in a residential neighborhood. We had a rape 5 years ago. We had a murder in the shelter itself. We had a gentleman who ran a tailor shop up in I think it was 27th Street, who was stabbed and robbed. By all three of these were shelter incidents, people who either lived in the shelter or events that occurred in the shelter. All of them had prior violent felony arrests. The state is not putting people from our neighborhood here. A lot of these guys are coming in out of Albany, out of Buffalo, out of the rural communities in Western New York, where I grew up. That's where all this, New York City is basically seen as a dumping ground for the prisons. And we have to stop that, and we have to start objecting to it. Otherwise, when I look at the East Side, particularly the Upper East Side, where the donors live, the political donors, I'm aware of only one shelter up there. It's at the 79th Street Armory, and it is specifically designated for women aged 45 and older. So no men. And I think we need to stop accepting the fact that, we'll take everybody. We can't, and we shouldn't. That's all.
Thanks, Jim. Yusuf, and then we'll move the agenda.
Yeah, I'll be really quick. I'm actually wearing my Hope t-shirt, which is a part of the DHS annual count of the homeless in the city. And I recommend, I don't know how it'll work this year, but I recommend that folks get involved because you learn a lot about the street homeless and the barriers to getting into shelters. Similar to what's been mentioned before, I want to thank folks for speaking up and speaking openly and plainly. I think better to do that than not. I would just say that I found that one of the benefits of this community is that, in fact, we do have a shelter here and the largest facility housing the homeless in the city, because I think it allows us to understand the challenges associated with that, but it also allows us to, I think, more intimately understand the challenges associated with being homeless. So to Karen's point earlier, you know, where do you go to the bathroom, right? How do you find a place to seek shelter? These basic things that we take for granted. And so I think this community is actually in a very strong place over the next weeks and months, and with the amazing event that's going to happen in a couple weeks, to actually lead the city in discussions about this, and to uphold the dignity of our homeless neighbors, because we are, again, a generous district that has welcomed the homeless in this district. So that's all to say that I'm excited about what's being organized by the committee, and again, thank the folks who've spoken thus far.
Great, thanks, Yusuf. All right, so we'll move to, sorry, I lost my place here, to John Keller, and this is, I think, is it Sandy McKee for transportation? There is a joint Health and Education Transportation Committee resolution. So as we begin to vote on all these resolutions tonight, we have several, I know we've all done this once or twice before, but we have the digital ballot and it's pretty turnkey. I hope you all can see it's in the, click on the link in the chat. And I think we have a solution for Charles, or Seema will ask Charles, who's just here tonight by phone, for his vote for things at the end of the meeting. But go ahead and if you clicked on it, you can select your name from the list of board members and then select your vote for each resolution. Don't hit submit until we finish all of the resolutions, and then you can submit so we can, tally those up. But okay, so I think that's pretty much it. Are you guys there? Is everyone there?
Molly, before we move on to the joint portion of this, let me just speak very, very briefly.
Yes.
As the parent of 2 kids in New York City public schools, I've been very attuned to all of the issues that are, plaguing the reopening of schools. And originally, we have our next committee meeting on the 22nd. Originally, that was going to be 12 days after school opened. Now it's going to be 1 day after school opens. So what I plan to do for our next committee meeting, and I just want to say it here, is follow Ben Kalos's Councilmember Kalos's suggestion, and work with Council Members Kalos, Powers, and Rivera to do a survey of the schools in the CB6 zone to see how the reopening has gone from their perspective, and then to invite parents from those schools to come to our committee meeting and tell us how it went, because we're very privileged in this zone. Our schools are generally excellent, but this crisis across the city, when you consider that the surest predictor of high school graduation rates is second grade reading levels, this is setting kids back years and could have lifelong impacts on them. So we'd like in our own way here to try to address that. And Borough President Brewer mentioned tutoring, and I know some of our high schools are actively working to tutor kids, through with programs based in the schools. So I'll just stop there, and anybody who wants to contact me offline with any comments, thoughts, or advice on that, I would appreciate. Thank you.
Great, thanks, John. So I guess if you want to move on to the joint resolution to introduce that, if there's some
Claire, do you want to start? And I'll chime in. Or Sandy, if Sandy's here, whoever is.
I think it might, I don't know, Claire or Sandy, I mean,
I think Sandy was going to.
Okay. Yeah, Sandy, you drove this in the beginning, so I think you should be the one to.
Okay, just that this is a resolution in support of PS 59, which is on 56th Street, and they submitted to the DOT, to our elected officials. Actually, they are mentioned in Gail Brewer's letter as one of the schools that she supports having an open street. And Matt Bondi is very familiar with this. He wrote the resolution, and it seems like a great place to utilize a great way to utilize our streets.
Yes, and also it has the support of council members Kalos and Powers, and the 17th precinct has also been involved in planning this and supports it with certain caveats regarding loading docks on the street.
All right, are there any questions on this resolution? Okay, is there a second?
Wait, it looks like B. Disman raised her hand.
Oh, okay, B?
Yeah, I just have a question. Molly, can you or the office tell us where the digital ballot is? Because I don't see it on my various aspects.
Open
Where
the
is it
chat. Open the chat. So underneath there's a chat. So click on the chat and it should be down there. Yeah, they just posted it again. CB6 members, you can access the ballot here. It's airtable.com.
I've opened the chat and I don't see it at all.
Go to the very bottom, scroll to the bottom of the chat. You might be at the top with happy birthday greetings for Sandy in there. But
thank you.
Okay, I see it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So the question has been called, and was there a second?
I second if anybody.
John, okay. Well, you can't second it. You're the.
I don't think I can. That's what
knock it off.
If I can. All right. Sorry, Molly.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Yusuf, okay, thank you. All right, so please vote, on your ballot, but don't submit. So and just keep that open, and we'll come back to that. John, do you have anything else for health and education?
Let me just get back to my screen here. No, I think our committee meeting on the 22nd will probably be quite full with the education part of this, especially if we have parents. But I also am very interested in reaching out through Councilmember Rivera to get an update on how our hospitals are prepared at this time. But I think I'm going to get a little bit of a sense of how full the agenda might be just with the education part of it.
Okay, and we haven't heard from any of the other schools, like we haven't heard from DOT on any of the schools for open streets and play streets? Zero so far.
Claire, I think there are 2 other schools that have asked for.
Applied.
Pardon?
Have applied?
Have applied, yeah.
But nothing's back.
No, nothing is back yet, though. There is, I'm just not sure what the status of those applications are. PS 59, mainly because Matt Bondi drove this, got ahead of the curve on this.
Okay, thank you. All right, thanks, Matt. All right, so Sandy for transportation.
Yes, so we had a meeting in July, and so we have several resolutions from that meeting. The 2nd Avenue bike lane, closing the gap on 2nd Avenue is something that we've been striving for as a board for many, many years. And they finally came and said that they have a solution for bringing the bike lane all the way from 43rd down to 34th. And if we actually approve this, they are going to start to implement it right away, which is fantastic. It's an incredibly well-used bike lane, and it's quite a dangerous situation the way it is currently.
I'm tired of moving the barricades in place. A few of us are just doing that on a regular basis. Okay, any questions? Okay, seeing none. Okay, Jean, call the question. Yeah. Is there a second? Oh, is there a second?
I guess I can second this one.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, John.
Pamela,
Oh, okay.
Pam's waving.
Yeah, I can't, I'm not able to see all this screen, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so please vote on resolution 7A, supporting closing Second Avenue bike lane gap. And Sandy for 7B.
And this also came to us at the July meeting, and it's a proposal for crosstown bike lanes on 38th and 39th Street. And they have been temporary, and now the DOT is actually working to implement them. And they go completely across the island. It's part of the network that they've established through our district. And actually, this is one of the last ones that they're going to implement.
Okay, questions? Seeing none?
Call the question.
Second.
Pam, okay, thank you. Or I'm not sure who said that, actually.
Brian said it.
Oh, Brian, thank you. All right, so
And
please
me.
vote on 7B.
I'm
And
having
we-
some trouble getting to the ballot and marking it properly. I'm not sure what I'm doing incorrectly.
Okay, let's see. So are you in the chat? Did you go to the chat and click on it? Click on the airtable.com, Lou?
I've clicked on chat. I've got the resolution.
You need to
Yeah,
go.
it's having problems. I'm having the same problem.
So you know, what we can do is we do have some people that need to vote verbally at the end. So can we do that? And Seema will request the votes. If anyone is having difficulty, do you know if there's Cody or Jesus, Brendan? I don't know.
It seems
the
to
ballot
work
is
on
the
my
ballot
end.
is working fine on our end.
Yeah, I'm able to access it, so I don't know if maybe it could be the internet or.
Maybe those who are having trouble, if perhaps it opens in a browser that's not your usual browser, maybe you can just take the little URL and paste it into your normal browser. That might help clear it.
Yep.
I'm in Chrome, but maybe there's another.
Yeah, I'm using Chrome as well, and Rich is suggesting that what Jesus said, that perhaps switching browsers. But Rich is having an issue in Chrome as well.
Oh, okay. I'm
Seems
in
to be
Chrome.
working fine for us.
Me too, yeah.
Maybe refresh the page if you were having an issue.
Okay. All right. So, and we'll get back to that, Lou. If you're unable to vote, we'll go back to that and be. Okay. So Sandy, for supporting the Queen's ribbon.
And this was a presentation that Sam Schwartz made to us at our last meeting, and it's a proposal to build a pedestrian and bicycle bridge that would connect Queens to Manhattan. Understanding that we don't have the money for this now, it's a bit of a long shot, but it's something that seems like a great idea. And many other cities are building these types of bridges. And since we're the place where a lot of cars land, we thought it's a good idea to actually have bicycles and pedestrians land here as well. Any questions?
Somebody had a ballot contact that just I didn't see until the last second. Can we have that back again, please?
The ballot contact.
The link to the ballot is in the chat. It is the most recent message at the bottom of the chat window.
Scroll all the way down.
There you go, Lou. I put it back in.
Airtable?
Yes, Airtable.
Airtable.
Okay, any questions on Sam Schwartz's? It's a beautiful thing. Gene, you have a.
Yeah, it's not so much a question as just to expand something Sandy said about the planning for this. This is the idea behind this is not to do it now. The target is 2027. The idea is that if we get lucky, as we hope to be in the November elections, for example, that there will be the kind of bailout programs for infrastructure that happened in 2008, 2009 at the beginning of the Great Recession. And that time, New York was caught without shovel-ready projects. So a lot of asphalt was laid all around this town, but no significant infrastructure was built. And this is a beginning of trying to identify things that we can set in motion so that when that day comes, when the money comes in, we have things we can go to the feds with and say, we're ready, here they go. So that's part of what's going on.
I just want the Greenway connected, so that's all.
Brian,
We think this is going to help.
Oh, Sandy, go ahead.
Yeah, we think this is going to help connect the Greenway. So if this bridge lands, it's got to connect to the Greenway. So it should really help us fill in that gap in the Greenway as well.
Brian?
I just wanted to add a thing that I have had a really tumultuous week and haven't been able to follow up with Sandy, but the resolve asked for the bikeway to be usable for all the categories. There was some discussion in the meeting about recommending that the bikeway or the total width of the thing is at least 20 to 30 feet wide. It's not included specifically in the resolution.
That was our solution to address that it really has to acknowledge that there are 3 different types of users. So if they design it with that way, we feel it will respond to your concerns.
We might, when we come back across this in the future, we have to be adamant about this because the new Tappan Zee Bridge was designed for pedestrians and bicyclists and road bicyclists, but it's only 13 feet wide. And there's been a lot of conflicts on it because the state designed it insufficiently to serve all those populations safely, even though they allow access for all of them.
All right, is there any other questions for 7C? Oh, wait, okay.
Can I call to question?
Oh, yeah, and
I have a question. I have to say something.
Yes, let do Letty,
Hi,
and then
I just want to say for the record that I'd heard from the Sutton Place and Beekman Place folks, and they just were feeling, and I understand Turtle Bay is probably the lead on this, that they just, I guess they felt very put out that they were not notified about this. I know we have public, all of this is public, and I just wanted to say for the record, at least that was their feeling. It doesn't affect my thinking, but I just wanted to say, and as a matter of fact, I did speak to Charles Cortino of SAC this afternoon, and I asked him pointedly whether he was going to speak tonight or anybody from Turtle Bay was going to speak tonight. And he said he was busy and he didn't think they were. So I just wanted you to know that I had asked them and obviously they didn't come. So be it. I also said to them, this was only a concept. And that's all it was an idea.
Yeah, oh good, thanks.
So
Letty.
I just wanted to put that on the record and, just leave it there.
Good, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anne?
No, I was just calling a question.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we got Susan seconded. Sandy, 7D.
7D. So this is a request to.
Don't we need to vote?
Oh, well,
that?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I get, you can vote on that now. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm not pausing.
Okay. Sorry,
Please
Molly.
vote. Please vote.
So this is a resolution asking the police precincts to actually open up the streets for public uses. We have 2 precincts that are still blocking the streets. We did write a letter to them asking them if they could please consider opening them and at least give us a timetable. So this is to reinforce that letter. And also it's in support of the letter that Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer wrote and she talked about earlier in the meeting.
Yes, and we have been talking to the commanding officer, so we're working with them, but they're just not opening the barricade. And they were invited to speak tonight, but kind of short notice. Andrew.
Yeah, Molly, I just wanted to add what you and Sandy said, which is that in the discussion, just a clarification, I did raise, and it was raised, if we're given an opportunity to discuss this out of fairness. and the fact that both the commissioner and the precinct did not only did not respond, but didn't participate, I think was a factor in some of this decision making. And I think it's important for the full board to know that.
Yeah, and in fairness, Andrew, they did respond to me just in conversations, but it was just at a build-a-block meeting a few weeks ago, and separately just by phone on the commanding officers, and they just said they won't because of the riots, and we don't agree, but that they have some safety concerns. So I've asked them, to come to some of our meetings, and so I hope they attend our Housing, Homeless, and Human Rights, so we can discuss some issues. We want to work with them, right? We want to work with them on this and all of the issues, that they're dealing with, as well as we all are dealing with right now. So try to keep that line of communication open.
I mean, part of the problem with the barricades is that it's really the police are completely inaccessible now. So it sets up yet another level of inability to communicate with them.
I do think that Jim might have a question. He's having a hard time raising his hand, and then we'll move the agenda if we can. Jim,
I've been trying to raise my hand, but electronically, but I don't seem to be able to do it.
We'll try to keep an eye on you physically.
All right.
Did you have a question, Jim?
Not with respect to this, not on this particular issue. I did have an issue on 8C or 8D, I forget.
Okay. So 7D, did we already call the question? No, we need to call the question.
I'm just, since we're talking about it and talking about speaking to the police afterwards, I'm just wondering if it's something you might want to lay over until you have those discussions. The 7C.
We've approached them. We've asked.
We've talked to them several times. We're talking to them.
All
yeah,
right.
I'm talking to them. Okay. Call the question.
Call the question. Yes.
Okay. I'm asking. Come on, Jean. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. And okay. Please vote on 7D, asking local precincts to quit blocking the streets. Sandy.
And then our next resolution, actually, Anne and Andrew worked together on this one, and it's to assess the utilization of metered parking in Midtown East. And it was noticed that there's, because of the particular configuration, very residential, that we may want to look more closely at how parking is used in this neighborhood. And if there are any questions, either Anne or Andrew can answer them.
Questions for 7E? Anne or Andrew?
It looks like Pam Bassel wants the floor.
Pam? Oh, she's on mute. Pam, you're on mute.
Okay, all I wanted to say, I'm so sorry, Molly, you referred in the last thing to riots, and I would rather in the minutes that it said demonstrations instead of riots.
No, that's what the police say, riots. So we have to say that. The police say riots and protests. They are concerned for their safety,
Okay, I shut up.
Yeah, they say it over and over to me, so.
Our resolution does not say riots.
All right, so for 7E.
Okay.
There's no one calling the question. I'm going to just move for the vote. Okay, so please vote on 7E. 7F.
7F. Sorry, we have so many.
We really do. They're all good. They're all good.
Yeah, they're all good. This came out of one of the meetings that I think Molly had with.
Oh, he froze. Uh-oh. Actually, Sandy, you froze, and I don't know if anyone else sees it. Sandy froze, but okay. So
I'm sorry, Molly, while we're getting her back, was that supposed to be 7E? Because 7E is about the metered parking It's that reso.
7E is what we had no questions, and people can vote on 7E for, there were no questions for that.
That's right. This is Sutton Place South.
Yeah, we're talking about Sutton Place South. Jean, do you want to speak to that, or Letty could probably even speak to that since she lives right there?
If Letty wants to do it, that's fine.
No, Jean, go ahead. Are you? Yeah.
Okay, I didn't have much to do with this reso. So,
oh, okay. Well, and I just had calls from SAC and from the neighborhood, and the office that had complaints. We've dealt with it before, and it was a service issue, but it hasn't been fixed. And so if you go to 53rd and Sutton Place South, you see the cars exiting the FDR at high speeds, and the sign is not very clear that it says 25 miles an hour. Anyway, there's poor signage. There's a lot of pedestrians. It's very dangerous. So we were asking the DOT for safety enhancements there. That's really all that is. So any questions on that?
I'll call to question.
Adam, Adam may have a question, or Adam?
No, I was going to agree with you and call to question.
Okay.
I was just going to call to question.
And Anne is the second. I'm counting you as a second, Anne. Okay. All right, so please vote on 7F. And Sandy, Claire, Jean, do you have a report? Claire, maybe Claire can go. I think Sandy, we lost Sandy. So Claire, do you have anything?
No, I think that was enough time. Leave the report.
Appreciate it. Okay, thank you. All right, so let's go to, am I missing anyone? Kyle Atide for Business Affairs and Street Activities.
All right, hey everybody. Hope everyone's having a good evening. Would you like me to walk through each of these? The last two can be bundled. It's good to see applications in our neighborhood again.
Yes.
But the rest of them are different.
Yep, please. Yeah, and these were sent to everyone, so hopefully you're looking at these. And you've read them.
So yeah, I'll just give a quick summary for each of them.
Sure.
So A is about COVID-19 surcharges to business and service providers. This was actually something that was brought up from the experiences of people within our district of charges that started popping up when they were trying to access certain services. The most visible one was if anyone went to the dentist, there were certain charges that were added on top of the normal billing because PPEs were required. This particular resolution is about the transparency of those charges. It doesn't make a statement on the charges themselves, but ensuring that individuals, before they make a purchase of a good or service, are aware of any associated COVID-19 surcharges that affects the price of that.
Okay.
And I want to thank Yusuf and Susan for taking the lead on that resolution.
Great. Questions? Okay, seeing none, can we move for a vote?
Call the question.
B and Pam seconds. Okay. Please vote on 8A and Kyle.
Mm-hmm. All right, so moving on to B. So this is, again, something that was brought up in our community about businesses and third-party delivery apps. Of course, City Council earlier in the quarantine took some actions relating to the capping the charges that businesses were being charged in order to use those platforms, which of course affected businesses that were already struggling. Another issue that we found within it that was particularly relevant during COVID is that there were some businesses that were listed as closed on the app if they chose to delist themselves from that app and use another platform. If you went onto it, it was saying that they were closed when in fact they were open. Again, this affects businesses that are already struggling. So we wanted to make sure that there were measures to protect small businesses from that, something very simple, just to ensure that apps would delist any businesses that chose not to use those platforms instead of showing that they were closed and, you know, making a customer go to another business, that people could understand that they were just simply not using that platform.
Okay. Questions? Seeing none. Oh, I'm sorry, Larry. Larry had a question. Yeah.
Yes, I have a quick question. What were some of the platforms that were causing a problem?
Mm-hmm. So it was mentioned on Grubhub and Seamless were the two big ones that were mentioned. There was actually an article in the New York Times that Jim shared with our committee, actually spoke on it because his local deli was actually affected by this. And this was actually something that was happening in other states as well, where the business was listed as closed, even though they were open. So the fact that we had heard this, we wanted to make sure that no third-party app could do something of this nature.
Yeah. This is a good one. All right. Yeah, Larry, I miss you. I haven't seen you. You just popped up on my screen. I haven't. Okay. So can we move?
8B. 8B.
Okay. Are you calling a question? Clark?
Yes.
Second.
Okay, and Larry seconds. All right. Please vote on 8B. 8C.
So 8C, so to give background, our committee was discussing a lot of things. We actually put out 10 resolutions this summer. After our most recent meeting, we decided to consolidate because a lot of these resolutions were similar in nature because they were all about small business relief and economic recovery. So this was based on conversations and presentations that we had from our local officials. We heard about some of them earlier today during the elected officials section about different proposals that they're putting out at the assembly level, the Senate level, as well as the city and the city comptroller's office as well. So these are a bunch of different plans that all affect small businesses, whether it comes to business interruption insurance. So for those who are unaware, some people had insurance that covered pandemic, literally pandemic in it, and are not receiving the benefits of that insurance policy. For some others, it's something that doesn't exist. So this bill incorporates all of that. One of our most recent applicants actually had mentioned that she's in a fight with her insurance company because she does have pandemic coverage. She was one of the few businesses who actually had that and wasn't getting the benefits. So we have a bill on that, as well as what we heard from Senator Hoylman. They're calling it the Save Our Storefronts bill. And then we also have the plans that were put forth by City Council Member Keith Powers, as well as the City Comptroller, which we heard about earlier today. So all of these, our committee was very much in support of. We had a lot of feedback and questions and things that were included in these plans. And so we are supporting that because time is of the essence for a lot of these small businesses.
Thank you, Kyle. Questions for Kyle?
Right here.
Jim?
Yeah, I have a question.
Mm-hmm. Jim?
Okay. Kyle, I'm all for the business interruption insurance, but I have an issue with the forcing landlords to take a suspension of the rent payments for commercial businesses. I think it violates the takings clause of the Fifth Amendment, so I can't vote for it.
So that's obviously, and you're right. This is actually a great point that you bring up because this is something that I personally asked actually to the senator and the assembly member's office. They actually have resources for landlords who are affected by the 20% or the 1/3 calculation. Landlords who are affected by that, because one of the things that we often forget is that landlords aren't necessarily these big corporations all the time. Sometimes they are working class people themselves who are making their income and their livelihood from property ownership. So they actually have a clause within that as well, where if a landlord is affected by the 20% or 1/3 calculation, they actually have resources with the Department of Financial Services, I believe it is, to support them in bridging that gap. And again,
that goes for everybody. That goes for all. I mean, you seem to segregate it there between independent businesses and large corporations. It really doesn't matter insofar as the Constitution is concerned. It's for
Right, so
everybody.
that's your right in terms of how you're viewing that. I
Everybody
don't
gets
believe
it.
it's for everybody. I don't believe it's for everybody. I believe it's for people who are impacted by it, and they have another calculation for that as well.
I don't think that flies. Sorry.
Okay,
I'm
fair enough.
all in favor
No
of
worries, no worries.
the other end of it. If you can segregate the two, that would be fine. But otherwise, I guess I'm going to have to abstain or whatever.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for
Are
that
there-
comment.
Thanks, Jim. Are there other questions?
Can we move the vote to a vote?
B, is there a second?
Yes.
Call the question. Pam is seconding. Okay. Please vote on 8C and 8D.
Sure. So again, actually, this was mentioned almost verbatim earlier tonight. One of the things that we noticed very early on with outdoor dining, just from even our own personal experiences, was that the environment was affected by this. There was a lot of sanitation, pile up within the corner garbage cans themselves, commercial garbage on the sides of streets, which were just overflowing. It was hard to walk in certain areas. And then, of course, this also led to an increase in rats and bugs and, other vermin. There were articles about this as well. So we put together a resolution asking the Department of Sanitation to reevaluate their scheduled delivery, particularly in areas that have high concentration of restaurants and bars, which can also be related to how many outdoor dining permits have been issued as well. So we wanted to make sure that those with high concentrations of those were being serviced. And then part of this resolution as well is about composting. So composting is something very important to us. And we put that in as well because we thought that would also have a very positive impact in terms of the garbage that's accumulating, as well as making sure that everything is environmentally friendly.
Okay. Yeah, and I know that Keith Powers sent his newsletter out this morning or this afternoon, and he talked about helping to fund some of the sanitation with ACE.
Mm-hmm.
So we should all be, working to try to find other ways to work with DSNY, but also, other ways to empty our very, very full trash cans throughout our district.
Call the question.
Okay, Sandy.
Second.
And Claude? All right, please vote on 8D. And we have 2 liquor license applications, 8E and 8F.
Motion to bundle.
Brian, is
Oh,
there?
I missed that. I missed hearing that.
Is there a second to bundle?
Second.
Second.
Adam seconds. Okay. There's probably no explanation. You see the addresses there and the businesses. If there are no questions on 8E and 8F, or Kyle, if you have no comments.
Call to question.
Okay, question's been called. Second. Pam, all right. Please vote on 8E and 8F. Okay, Kyle, do you have a report?
I do. Yeah. So first of all, I need to thank the committee, everyone on the committee and the board staff as well, because this was a very, very busy summer. As I mentioned, we put out 10 resolutions based on all of the different issues that we were facing, and a lot of it was in real time. We actually had a resolution that we had passed over the summer about having the city and state put together a plan for indoor dining, which we had to pull out because obviously earlier today, the governor had mentioned a plan on indoor dining. Part of that resolution as well was about extending outdoor dining and having, because of course this is only 25% and going up to 50% occupancy. So if a business is able to do the outdoor dining, we thought that that should be extended to them as an option. But we pulled that out and we'll be discussing that at our next meeting because obviously a lot is changing, but I do have to thank everybody on the committee for, first of all, meeting throughout the summer and all of the work they did on that. I do have some information. There were a couple of different programs that the city started over the summer. The first one is something called Mediating Establishment and Neighbor Disputes. The acronym is MEND, and it's MEND NYC. And it's a citywide initiative for free mediation and conflict resolution as it relates to businesses and residents and quality of life issues. So I believe we sent that throughout one of the Wednesday emails, but that is a resource that is available to the public as well. And that's a really exciting thing because we were often dealing with that conflict resolution as a committee ourselves. Second point is that there was also another report that was submitted by the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment, the Office of Nightlife. As you remember, that's a new office at the city level. It's called the Multi-Agency Response to Community Hotspots. MARCH is the acronym. So they put out a report for the first 2 quarters of 2020 where they did surprise inspections throughout the city, making sure, anytime there was a complaint that was received, that they inspected that. And so this was a cross-agency between the DEP, DOB, mental health, FDNY, NYPD. Our specific district was not part of the initial investigation. There were, I believe, about 2 or 3 sites that were in Upper Manhattan that were inspected. But it's an interesting report, and it's just something to be aware of. And then just the last part is, like, as I mentioned, there's a lot changing. There's a lot that's obviously live in terms of plans and initiatives. So at our next community board, or our next committee meeting at the end of September, we'll be discussing a lot of these things. Of course, by then, hopefully we'll get more information on the indoor dining plan. But while it is a positive, there is a lot to be discussed about that. Just because it's an option doesn't mean that business owners feel comfortable hiring the amount of people that would be required to staff indoor dining or the public health concerns. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, the capacity is 25% later this month and then up to 50%. And part of our indoor dining bill was that after October 31st, no one really has an idea of how to proceed. And so for business owners and for obviously the employees, there's a lot of uncertainty. So thought it was best to pull that out just as we were receiving more information about it, but we'll definitely be discussing that at our next committee meeting. And so I encourage everybody to attend. And one of the great things is that a lot of our work was influenced by a lot of people from the public, but also other community board members from other committees who had been witnessing and experiencing things and providing their perspective to the conversation. So I would encourage people to continue to do that as well. And that's all I have.
Good stuff. All right, thank you very much. All right, so Pam Bassel, Chair, Parks, Landmarks, and Cultural Affairs. You're on mute.
I'm unmuted now, right? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. So I don't have much to say except to report on one thing, which is the St. Vartan's redesign of the playground. And so we had a discussion about it at our last meeting. There was a kind of a hoo-ha, which we didn't know about until after the meeting was over, but there were like 40 people who were grousing about one thing or another. So we tried to figure out a way in which we could listen to the things they wanted to suggest or the questions that they had. And we think we've come up with a viable solution. We presented the solution, they pushed back. So again, we have another solution. This is kind of it, but what they'll do in a nutshell is they will meet together as a group. They will write their comments concisely. There can be 10 of them who will come to our next October meeting in which they will present the items that are concerns for them. Prior to that meeting, they will send that list to us and to Steve Simon, and we'll be able to talk about it and hopefully write a resolution and move forward. And that's kind of where we are. We feel very strongly that as a community board, it is incumbent upon us to listen to our constituency so that when the park opens, it opens to rejoicing and not to bad feelings.
Well, it's a nice park, so as it is, but it's just for improvements in the whole full park and the playground and the ball field.
But this is solely about the playground.
Oh, okay.
So
Right.
that's,
Thank you.
That's you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Pam. And we'll move to, last but not least, Adam Hartkey for Land Use and Waterfront.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you all. I'll be very brief. It is a pleasure to chair this committee and to see you virtually once more. Thank you to Sandro for chairing this committee over the past several years. I'd also like to introduce that Sandy McKee is now the new vice chair of Land Use and Waterfront. The main item to report is that the next Land Use and Waterfront Committee meeting will be on Tuesday, September 29th. Tuesday, not Monday, Tuesday, September 29th. We'll be going over a few items. These include a few items adjacent to CB6. These are in the Midtown East rezoning area, and they include this Grand Central Terminal train shed rehabilitation project and a proposed building at 343 Madison Avenue. We'll also hear general updates on the various projects going on along the waterfront as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. And I should have reminded you a long time ago, but everyone submit your ballot. So is everyone, it seems like I just saw in the chat, 30 out of 50 members have submitted their ballot. So who's the slacker? Come on, submit your ballot.
We're up to 37 now.
Okay, okay. So anyway, okay. I think we are at old or new business. So Andrew? Any old or new business, or did you have a question for Adam?
Molly, hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to say it's not necessarily new business. I don't know if it was mentioned earlier, but I just realized because of my work that this week is 9/11, and I just want to mention here, because I don't know if it was said, appreciation to everyone who served our country and all of our first responders this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Good. Okay, so we are at second roll call, and I think you guys are working to get all the ballots in, right? Everyone's working on their ballots. And so we'll let Seema do the second roll call, and we'll announce the vote results after second roll call. I think Lou and B were both successful. Was anyone else having difficulty? I know Charles.
I was. Can you check if I voted?
You voted twice, Claude.
Okay. I had to make certain.
It's practicing for the election.
That's all the rage these days.
Way to go, rehearsing for November.
Okay, so we'll finalize the vote at the end after second roll call, and we're good. Okay, take it away, Seema.
Thank you. And if you have not voted, just let me know, and I will definitely note your ballots, note your votes for each of the ballots. I'll start from the bottom. Actually, I cannot start from the bottom. Sorry about that. I was about to almost release.
I don't want to be on the bottom anyway.
Kyle.
EMI.
Kyle.
Present.
Thank you. Asia.
Present.
Martin, not here. Elvie. Elvie, are you still here? Are you still here? Okay. Joan. I believe Joan is here. Joan. All right. Matt Bondi. I just want to, are folks able to hear me? There's these folks
We
here before.
hear you. Yes, we hear you.
Matt's here. Matt, you're on mute, or you're frozen, looks like.
Okay.
Oh, Matt's there waving. Yeah.
Matt's there. Okay, so I just want to confirm that LV and Joan are not here. Is that correct?
I don't think they are. I don't see them in the.
All right.
No,
they are here.
Elvie is here still, and Joan looks like she's dropped off.
Okay, thank you, Cody. Claire?
Here.
Jim?
Yeah, I'm here.
Dan Devine? Beatrice?
Here.
Janine,
Here.
Rick, sorry.
Here. Yep, here.
Charles Fernandez.
That's a very interesting conclusion. You sound intelligent.
I think you're here, Charles. I'm gonna.
He needs to vote though, right? Can he?
I think I got Charles's vote.
Oh, okay, good. Okay,
No.
thank you.
We need his votes.
I'm sorry. Who was that? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
We need Charles's votes.
Oh, okay. So his
Present.
ballot's in here.
You're good.
Can somebody turn off the TV?
Everyone
All
mute. Everyone mute.
All right.
Seema, I'm still here. Sorry.
Great. I got you, LV.
Okay, thank
Charles,
you.
did you submit your votes, or should we do that now?
Mine I submitted.
No.
No, Charles.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Okay, great. Andrew Gross,
Present.
Adam Hartkey.
Present.
Okay, Molly Hollister.
Here.
Paige. Paige.
She's on mute.
Okay. Yusuf.
Here.
All right. Thanks.
I'm here.
Got it.
And I had technical issues in the first vote.
Here.
I got you both times, Paige. Thanks. All right.
Okay.
Kathleen?
Too much noise.
Here.
Abigail?
Here. Sorry, I didn't hear.
And Anton?
Here.
Kavita Matthew?
Here.
Sandra McKee?
Here.
Wells McGauley?
Here.
Richard Mintz?
Here.
Karen Moore?
Here.
Philip Napolitano?
Here.
Rajesh Nair?
Here.
Kevin O'Keefe?
Present.
Reshma Patel?
Present.
Matthew Roberts?
Here.
Jean Santoro?
Already gone.
Larry?
Here.
Anne?
Present.
Lou? Lou Sapersky?
Yeah.
All right. Sean Sherman?
Present.
Sandro Sherrod?
Present.
Letty Simon?
Present. Happy birthday, Sandy.
Susan Steinberg?
Here.
Anju Suresh?
Here.
Mark Thompson?
Here.
Corinne Vanderdonk?
Here.
Brian Van
Present.
Nieuwenhoven? Pam Bassel?
Still here.
Ronnie White? Ronnie?
Ronnie had to leave. She wrote in the chat box because she had to take care of
Cool.
something for her
Thank
father.
you. Thank you. Claude Winfield?
Here and not gone yet.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Seema.
We need Charles's votes, and we've got everyone else on each of the resolutions.
Do you have that ballot open, Seema, to ask, or Cody, do you have the
Yeah.
ballot? Okay.
Cody, it says his votes are in the Airtable.
Right,
And
it was
that's-
because I had just opened a ballot to record
All
it
right.
as you were going to ask him. Sorry for the confusion.
Okay. Got it. Do you want me to do it, Cody?
Yep, and I'll record them as we receive them.
Okay, great. Give me 1 second to pull that up again.
And not too bad tonight, you guys. I thought it was going to be a lot longer, so we didn't do
Well,
too shabby.
It's not too swift either.
No, okay, yeah, could have been better.
You know
All
what?
right,
Nice job, Molly.
Thank you. Okay, well, let's do Charles.
All right.
Sorry, Charles, to be on the spot, but
Okay, 6A, supporting the application of PS 59 and PS 169 for open streets located on Open Street on East 56th Street.
I don't know, do you have, he must have the agenda in front of him, so maybe you could even just do 7A, 7B,
Okay,
I don't
cool.
know.
So let's just start 6A, Charles.
Yes.
Great. 7A.
Could you repeat that? I'm a little
Sure.
confused.
No problem. So 7A is supporting closing the 2nd Avenue bike lane gap.
Yes.
Okay, 7B, which is supporting the New York City Department of Transportation's proposal for crosstown protected bicycle lanes on 38th and 39th Street.
4.
All right, 7C, supporting the Queens Ribbon, which is the pedestrian bicycle bridge that would connect Queens to Manhattan.
4.
Okay, great. 7D, asking local police precincts to cease blocking adjourning streets.
Abstain.
Okay, 7E, requesting the NYC DOT to assess prevalence and utilization of different metered parking types in Midtown East.
4.
Okay, 7F, requesting safety enhancements at the intersection of Sutton Place South and East 53rd.
4.
All right, 8A, regarding the addition of a COVID-19 surcharge to businesses and service providers.
4.
Regarding more transparency. Okay, 8B, which is urging the city and state to establish measures to protect small businesses from neglect and misrepresentation on third-party delivery apps.
4.
8C, regarding proposals for small business relief and economic recovery.
4.
8D, suggesting measures to improve sanitation with regards to outdoor dining.
4.
8E and F were both bundled. They were both applications for new on-premise liquor licenses.
4.
And do we have, I think that's it.
That's it.
That's it. Okay, thanks, Charles.
And thank you. Okay.
You, Cody, do you want to announce the?
Yes, just 1 second. Okay, so all the ballots are in. On 6A, we have 44 in favor, 1 abstention, and 1 not entitled vote. So that passed. 7A, the transportation, starting with the transportation series of resolutions, was also 44 in favor, 1 abstention, and 1 not entitled. 7B, 45 in favor, 1 not entitled. 7C, 44 in favor, 1 abstention and 1 not entitled. 7D, 36 in favor, 4 opposed, 6 abstentions, and 1 not entitled. That passes. 7E, 44 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention, and 1 not entitled vote. 7F, same 44 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention, 1 not entitled. With BASA 8A, 46 in favor, unanimous. 8B, 45 in favor, 1 not entitled. 8C, 40 in favor, 1 in opposition, 4 abstentions, and 1 not entitled. That passes. 8D was unanimous as well. In favor. 8E was unanimous in favor, and 8F was unanimous in favor. So every resolution passed.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Cody. Thanks, office. Thank you all. There are no other questions. I know that there are some things in the chat. That might be I think that's an important issue about the nursing homes. Let's talk about it at Health and Education. And Mark is nodding. Mark and I both know. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
thanks
Have
for
a good
the
night.
birthday wishes.
I miss you all. Happy birthday, Sandy.
Happy
Thank
birthday,
you so
Sandy.
much.
Happy birthday, Sandy.
Thanks.
Hello, everyone. Be well.
Peace out.
There.
Sandy.
Happy birthday, Sandy.